In 1986, while America's war on communism was raging in Central America, I snuck into Guatemala, where President Reagan had signed an arms deal with another military dictator, General Rios Montt. Montt used those arms to silence his people, in particular the indigenous Indians of Guatemala, who the dictatorship set about to wipe out.
Dale tu mano al indio, dale que te hará bien, encontrarás el camino como ayer yo lo encontré. Dale tu mano al indio, dale que te hará bien, te mojará el sudor santo de la lucha y el deber. La piel del indio te enseñará todas las sendas que habrás de andar. Mano de cobre te ha de mostrar toda la sangre que has de dejar. ¿Por qué vinieron a vivir aquí?
Ya no está en mi casa.
¿Ah?
Ya no está en mi casa.
¿Qué le pasó a su casa?
Los guerreros, por causa de guerreros se quemó el soldado en casa.
¿Quién se las quemó?
El soldado.
Dale tu mano al indio, dale que te hará bien.
I was working in Guatemala in 1987. I was with 3 other sisters. We were living in and walking with the people of San Miguel Acatan in Huehuetenango, up in the mountains. And my ministry was walking with children. I went to Guatemala with the intention of being an educator, but in reality, they were my educators. I learned so much about them. I learned about life. I learned about how to appreciate culture, how to appreciate nature, and I also experienced with my own eyes what poverty really is. The sisters often tell me that I was in my honeymoon stage, that I could find nothing wrong with Guatemala, and it's true. I loved Guatemala, the people, the culture, the children. I saw God in Guatemala. Yeah, I did. And I probably about a short time later, I started to receive death threats, and I was baffled as to why, because I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary. But when I think back about it, I realized that I was teaching children how to read and write and to recognize their dignity as a person. And when children get to that point, they, learn to stand up for their human rights, and they are a voice. So who best to silence the children?
Dale tu mano al indio, dale que te hará bien, encontrarás el camino como ayer yo lo encontré. América está gritando y el siglo se vuelve azul, pampas, ríos y montañas liberan su propia luz.
A little over a year, I really don't want to go into detail, okay? Because it means going back in time. Well, I could just say that I was picked up and I was taken to a clandestine prison in Guatemala City. And, there I was violated and gang raped and witnessed the torture heard the cries of other people being tortured and put into a room, or I was placed into a room where there was another woman who had definitely been tortured, and one of the perpetrators put a machete in my hand and forced me to hurt my woman friend who I referred to. And that was videotaped. And so that was, can we stop? Stop, please, please.
Why did they use a camera? To humiliate you or to?
Because I was an American, and I think it was to make sure that I didn't come back to the United States to disclose what had transpired.
Right.
And
They had the evidence on you, so to speak.
yeah.
Right.
And when I did eventually leave Guatemala, I did talk about what had transpired. I did not share everything at that time because it was just
Too
yeah. But
traumatic.
I tried to convey in a safe way that there were other people being tortured in the place where I had been detained, and that there was an American who had come in at one point during my torture.
Really?
And had given orders to my perpetrators.
To make them do that?
I don't know. I just know that he was the one overseeing the torture. And so when I came back to the United States and disclosed the role of the American, and immediately I was depicted as someone who was off in La La Land, someone who was wanting the U.S. Congress to discontinue U.S. military aid to Guatemala. And at that time, I was so green. So naive. I didn't know anything about. I wasn't very political. You know, my political work was being an educator. You know, giving children an opportunity to hold a pencil and to be able to read a word and to see the joy in their face when they said, "I can read." Yeah. I sometimes feel guilty thinking I'm not doing enough to work towards the abolition of torture. But what I've also have found is that not too many people know about torture. They don't want to hear about it. And, you know, my faith as a Catholic calls me to help people connect the dots. You know, what poverty is connected with torture, the refugee crisis is connected with torture, the war in Syria is connected with torture. It's all interconnected. And the only way that we're ever going to be able to resolve these issues is by coming to the table together with our differences, with our flaws, with our sinfulness, but with the commitment that we are all working toward the common goal. And that's justice, that's peace. And justice or peace comes about through justice.